Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trylko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banneret. Welcome to Around the Kingdom. Elo, hello.
Hello, Trace. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around. We're a week away from the first UCF practice, perhaps. What are the biggest questions going into camp do you have about UCF football? Plus, how many teams are going to join the Big 12? We're 2024? What are we talking about, Trace? It's all coming up and much more here on the fastest UCF show around the kingdom.
Well, before we get going with all of that, Elo, let us welcome in the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF. Keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Greetings, gentlemen. The Olympics start this week, but I can tell you both right now, early results are in. If we had to give gold medals for hot takes, you two are both winners.
We're on the medal stand. Thank you, Adam. All right, Elo, you mentioned it. We've been counting down for months, right? Since spring camp, preseason camp about to get underway for UCF football, that 2024 season around the corner. As the camp gets underway, what are the biggest things you are looking for? What's one of them? What are the questions that you have as camp gets underway?
Well, let's start on the offense. To me, it's the offensive line. You could have all the great running backs you got, quarterbacks, et cetera. If you don't have a good offensive line, it ain't going to matter. And I think that's, to me, Trace, is going to be the big question. Who is starting where in the offensive line? They did lose some pieces from last year, which I thought gelled pretty well. Herb Hand, I remember, talked about the depth that he had last year. Do they still have that depth? That's one of the things I'm looking forward to talking to Herb Hand down the road here once we get going. Is this offensive line not just who's starting, but do they feel they have the same quality of depth that they felt they had last year? Because to me, that will kind of determine how good this offense could be.
Well, let's dig a little deeper on that one. One of my questions is at center, Caden Kittler. You know, last year, several guys played center because of injuries, but also depth helped in that matter, right? But will Caden Kittler earn that starting job? Can he stay healthy for the entire season? That's a tall task for any offensive line, which goes back to your question of depth, right? You're going to need guys that can move in and out of positions. See, I just go back to I trust Herb Hand to put together a line. The question, though, you know, they've got New Hampshire, they've got Sam Houston State. Can he have it together working when they welcome in, you know, Colorado in week 4, but more importantly, when they go on the road to TCU week 3? Will that line have come together by then?
Well, and you got Florida, who's an SEC defensive line in October, and then moving forward from there. I think you're right. I think that makes sense. But I do think the depth is very important because, let's be real, you're probably going to have injuries. I mean, 2017 was the rare year where you didn't have injuries in the offensive line, that many. Anyway, so I think the offensive line. And then who is going to be that receiver, Trace, outside of Kobe Hudson when teams try to take away Kobe Hudson and double team him? Who is that second receiver that steps up and maybe has a breakout year? I think will be interesting as well.
Quarterback 2, that battle. Who wins that battle? Because, you know, will KJ Jefferson play an entire 12-game, multiple, games beyond that?
You mean the backup spot? The backup spot.
Yeah, QB2. Who's the backup? But nobody's sure of that, right? With the movement, everybody wants to play somewhere. Which teams have good, reliable backup quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think the backup quarterback is very good. You know what I'm not going to fall for? The hype about, hey, this is the year that the tight end is used more on the offense. I feel like this is a tradition unlike any other. Somebody's going to bring it up. Oh,
but they have one that could be used more than Alec Holler, right?
I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it on the offense. But KJ Jefferson, it'll be fun to see him too and see who he builds a rapport with too. That'll be fun as well. So, of course, we spent a lot of time talking about the offense. Trace, the big question is, who are you looking forward to seeing play in the Knights offense the most this season?
How about I'll begin with, you just dissed this position, tight end Randy Pittman Jr. I think he could be the equivalent of a wide receiver. He could catch that many passes. I'm bought in on the hype that the tight end will make a difference offensively.
I am going to say KJ Jefferson. I am doubling down on what I said in the last episode that you had a
controversially
with, where I said KJ Jefferson will be the best UCF quarterback since Mackenzie Milton in that era. Since Mackenzie Milton, there's no other quarterback that I would take than KJ Jefferson. I think he's a perfect fit. This is the exact quarterback that Gus has wanted since he's gotten here. This is the first time he's got it. He's way better than Plumlee. I think he's a better thrower than Plumlee. He's a better athlete than Plumlee from a football standpoint. I think he's a physical runner. I think he's going to stay healthy and be physical in the backs. That's what I'm excited about. I think this guy's going to be electrifying.
How much does he run? Because I mentioned that because of the running back stable that the Knights have. You know about RJ Harvey, of course. They get Toledo transfer. Penny Boone comes in. He had 15 touchdowns himself last season in the MAC. Could you have here 2,000 plus rushers and maybe double-digit touchdowns? How much does KJ Jefferson take away from some of the running backs' scores? But potent running game for the Knights, and I'm interested in seeing what Penny Boone play for the Knights.
I think the Jefferson running is fascinating to me because with Gus now back in play calling, how much does he use that? Does he save him for a big game against Florida, or does he? I would like to think you have enough running backs where you don't have to. I do think, by the way, that the running backs is going to be more of a committee approach this year. I don't think RJ Harvey will match his numbers from last year. I think you're going to see more of a kind of remember like Storm Johnson and Will Stanback in 2013. I think we might see that this year in the backfield with UCF.
Maybe the numbers aren't as gaudy, but overall the running game pretty potent for the Knights.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, all right, kicking off this week, we're going to talk confidence. We're going to break up the schedule in 4 parts. We're talking these first 3 games, Elo, which really not much to speak of in games 1 and 2. What's your confidence level in a Knights win over New Hampshire in the Knights home opener, season opener? What's your confidence factor?
100%. Are you kidding? 100%. Okay. If we somehow lose to New Hampshire, just cancel this show. Just cancel the show because at that point the season's over. Like there's no point in playing the other game. So please, let's not even think.
All right, we're in agreement. 100%. Sam Houston State. 100%.
100%. Let's go. I think we score minimum over 40 in both of those games, maybe close to 50.
Season is derailed with a loss to either of these teams. All right. So the Knights get these 2 preseason games off the top, right? Remember, back in the day, UCF would travel throughout the first month. It would be that murderer's row of games, at Alabama, at Georgia, at Nebraska. You remember all those games. Now they open with New Hampshire, Sam Houston State. But then they go on the road. They open Big 12 play at TCU. How confident are you that the Knights begin Big 12 play 1-0 on the road, Elo?
9 out of 10, baby.
90%?
Absolutely. How good is TCU? Can you tell me that? They were terrible last year. They can't. I don't think they have a defense. We don't know what their quarterback situation is. We've seen Gus outcoach Sonny Dykes before when he was at SMU. I don't think TCU is that great. Now, I think that's not a very intimidating place to play. I think UCF has a great chance to start 3-0. I really do believe that, Trace.
50%, Elo. 50% on this. I think all these conference games are basically coin flip games.
What? Coin toss?
Yeah.
Cincinnati's
I think
a coin
there
toss?
are 2. I think these are 2 slam dunk wins off the top.
Yeah.
And then they get dicey. How many road games do they win? They took a last-second field goal to win at Boise State. They needed to survive against a bad Cincinnati team. I don't know your level of confidence. I know this is a better quarterback than John Rice Plumlee, but what's this confidence factor going on the road in a tough Big 12 environment? I don't know where 90% comes from. They're going to be an underdog. Do you disagree they're going to be an underdog week 1 in the Big 12? They'll be 3-4 point underdog in 4.
Maybe. But here's the argument. You got a starting quarterback that's won games on the road in the SEC, won a game at Florida. That's the difference. You've got a quarterback that's been there, done that. I got to believe, Trace, that a healthy KJ Jefferson can make a 1 to 2 game difference, including maybe taking a road game at TCU. I'm not saying they're going to run roughshod on the road, but of all the road games, you're telling me that TCU is the hardest? I don't think it is.
I didn't say TCU is the hardest. I didn't say it was the hardest. And I'm not saying that they don't win, but I think they're an underdog on the road in that game. That's
Probably. I mean, we'll see how TCU comes out. But
I think it's an important game for UCF to prove what they plan to do this season. What's this fan base going to do if they lose that game at TCU and then they welcome in Colorado and looking ahead to Florida? Meltdown in the fan base.
I mean, J.P. Gilbert, I'm going to be worried about it for sure. I don't disagree. Now, you mentioned Colorado. Funny you should bring that up. Colorado will be the Big 12.
How that works, Elo.
It's a good segue. Big 12, Deion Sanders will be down in Orlando at Colorado at UCF. First Big 12 game for Deion Sanders in the Big 12 on September 20th. The question is, what time is this game going to be at? UCF's had a bunch of night games scheduled, but we don't know the kick yet for UCF Colorado. Trace, what do you think? I wrote a column on the blackandgoldbanneret.com on Monday that I think this game's going to end up being a noon kick, and we might get Fox's pregame show, big noon kickoff, to come with it. What do you think?
Do you need undefeated teams for that to happen?
I don't think you do.
So either one of them could lose, or they both.
Yeah, I think if Colorado loses, I think if Colorado drops a game, yeah, I think you're fine because they want to see Dion. But I think if you get an undefeated UCF team against a 2-1 Connecticut teams or Colorado team, something like that, I think Fox is fine. Fox is not as picky about the win-loss record as ESPN College Game Day is.
Why I think you're onto something here is that it's early on in the season. We don't know what's going to happen to Colorado, right? I mean, they're not likely to be, not have won a game at that point. But as the season went along, they wore down, and then the interest waned on them. But early on, there was a lot of interest in Colorado, and you saw what it was like during Big 12 Media Days, all the buzz around Dion. I think there's an opportunity there. First Big 12 conference game for him, right?
Yes. And you told me, you're the one that told me that the tickets for this game is through the roof.
Now we'll see what happens closer to kick. But now, I mean, tickets as much as $1,600.
That is incredible.
I mean, which is insane. Nobody's paying that. Nobody's getting that. And good luck to you if you posted for it. But it's going to be a tight ticket, especially early on in the season when, again, neither team's season is off the rails at that point. So I think you're onto something that it's got a good chance. How many other possibilities do you think, though?
I think it's bleak after that because the schedules are stacked against UCF games. A lot of things would have to go right for them to host either a game day or a Big Fox show the rest of the year. In fact, their best shot might be like if Florida's undefeated and UCF is like undefeated in Gainesville. Maybe they do something like that. But this is your best shot. If you want to have a pregame show, if you want to see Mark Ingram jump on Adam Eaton in the fan section, UCF Colorado is probably your best shot.
Do we want to see that? Is that what we want?
I do. I don't know if Adam does, but that's all.
Well, Colorado's coming in as well. Arizona State, Utah. Here's the question, Elo. How big is too big for the Big 12? I mean, ACC Media Days underway and all of the conversation talking about Florida State, Clemson, when they're going to leave. ACC commissioners say we're in the top 3 leagues. I think Brett Yormark begs to differ on that. Are we heading to 20? Are we heading to 24? The talk was the Big 10 and the SEC being the super leagues, but maybe the Big 12 just jumps them all and just keeps adding schools.
Maybe. I think eventually we are all headed to like a 20 to 30. I really do think we're headed for an NFL model where you're going to have the, quote, AFC conference and the NFC conference, whether that's the SEC and the ACC, or is that the Big 10 with the Big 12? Who knows?
You mean the ESPN and the Fox?
There you go. You said it very well. No, that's true. I think that's valid as well. And that's why I laugh when all these like dweebs like on the internet are talking about, well, this team is leaving imminently. Wasn't last week Florida State and Clemson leaving to the Big 12 pretty soon? Like imminent. Now all of a sudden it's coming out like, they're not even going to apply to get out for another couple of years. Who knows? But I do think, unfortunately, we're probably headed for 20 to 24 teams. And I'm going to tell you this too, Trace. I think the days of playing non-conference games might come to an end. I think we're just going to play within the conference the rest down the road in the future here. By probably the end of the decade.
School like Sam Houston State, which UCF is paying to come to Orlando, they can't survive, right?
Correct.
There's no way.
Yes.
They need these. Think back to UCF needed those dollars, needed that payout at Michigan and at Ohio State.
I agree. No, I think we're seeing a split between the haves and the have-nots. Like, if you enjoy those, I really don't see a world where Sam Houston States of the world are going to survive, Trace. I really don't. I'm open to ears how that's going to work.
Yeah, well, no shortage of talk on this. And by the way, Elo, if you want to boost your ratings on shows like this, just put in the word expansion, and people from all over the country tune in. They are interested in what's
trust me, I watched Suns Live. I watched Suns Live with John Kurtz. He's a ratings booster.
All right, time for our silly segment. We bring back in Adam Eaton.
Greetings, gents. Before we get to silliness, our friendly reminder that this is brought to you by the Cure Bowl and the Orlando Sports Foundation. Friday, December 20th, the Staff DNA Cure Bowl happening at Camping World Stadium. There'll be a fun-filled day of football, all to raise funds and awareness for cancer research. It's consistently rated one of the top bowls to watch each year, and you do not want to miss out on the entertaining pregame festivities and exciting action on the field. At the Cure Bowl, the matchup is always Orlando versus Cancer. Join the home team now and get your tickets at curebowl.com. You can also go to Suns UCF YouTube page and find out how you can be a scout for the Cure Bowl, which is, I think, is a pretty cool and exciting opportunity if you have not seen that as well. All right, let's get to the game this week, gentlemen. The game really is essentially, did they get it right? I'm going to tell you something that happened. You tell me if the person or persons got this right. So, Eric, I'll start with you. Did they get this right? UCF announced a new system to distribute student tickets. They will claim these tickets the week of. No longer do they need to wait in line 2 hours before. If you have a claimed ticket, you can get in anytime before 15 minutes before kickoff. So you don't have to wait in line all day. You are guaranteed a ticket if you claim a ticket. If you did not claim a ticket, they have essentially a standby pass. Then you can essentially wait until determining if you want to get in line or not, if you get a standby pass in there. So, Elo, did they get this right by not making students wait 2 hours in the hot sun, determine if they have a ticket to the game?
Yes, I think they did get it right. I think it should be more like 30 minutes before kick. Be a lot easier. And I don't know who's going to run all this stuff, but I do think it's good. When I was a student, I used to have to get the ticket in advance on a lottery. So I have no problem with this.
Yeah, I think they got it right. What was good, though, is that they listened to the criticisms, the complaints, and the suggestions, and they adopted them. So we'll see if that helps stem the disappearance of students in the second half of games now that they just don't need to arrive until kickoff.
Well, there was no mechanism to keep them at the game, Trace. This is only about getting them in the game. So maybe there's some more work to be done there. All right, the next one. Did they get it right? You mentioned this already. John Kurtz was on our live show this week. Tracy, he said he has 8 teams that he think could conceivably be in the Big 12 title game. Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas State, Kansas, Arizona, Iowa State, UCF, West Virginia. He has 8 teams he thinks could play in that title game. Did he get that right, Trace? Is 8 teams the right number? Are those the right 8 teams?
Love John, but he didn't really go out on a limb here, right? It's a wide open Big 12. I think I'd like to hear him talk more about the schools he says have no chance. But yeah, I think that's a healthy mix of teams. And he's got UCF in there, and Elo's got KJ Jefferson as a Heisman contender and winning all these games on the road. So UCF certainly would be in the mix for that.
Elo, again, Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas, Kansas State, Arizona, Iowa State, UCF, West Virginia. Those are the 8 teams he has in the mix.
I just don't. I mean, I don't see West Virginia with Neil Brown. Like, it's quick. It's amazing what a difference a year makes. A year ago at this time, everybody assumed Neil Brown would get fired. Right. Now, all of a sudden, we're talking him Big 12 title game? That's a little aggressive. I also, as great as Lance Leipold has job as he's done at Kansas.
He's done a great job.
They're kind of capped. I like, what can anybody name a bowl game Kansas has played the last couple of years? I cannot. So I'm going to say 6 or 7 is probably the number, but it's not bad. I get where he's coming from.
By the way, credit to you, Adam, with the best line of Big 12 media days when talking about Neil Brown is that he's the most Neil Brown looking guy.
Trace, Adam, though, you saw Neil Brown. Did he look like a conference championship game coach to you?
Yeah, he looks like a guy named Neil Brown. There's no disputing that. All right, here's the last one, gentlemen. This past weekend, I guess, there was some sort of a technical issue with a service called CrowdStrike, which took down the internet, took down websites, caused all kinds of havoc throughout the entire world, airlines, all these other things. So, Eric, if there's something that you couldn't use for 24 hours, something that went down, went away, that just went away, what would be the most inconvenient thing for you to go away and you can't use for 24 hours?
Well, clearly the internet. I didn't have internet prior to the show. This show is in real doubt. You guys were calling the bullpen to see it was coming in to do the show if I had an over 4-hour restore. So I guess for this show's, I will say internet. But obviously 24 hours, I would say, I would say probably phone. I would say a phone. Because at least that's the most important thing. You could check your internet on the phone. You could reach out to people on the phone. If you don't have a phone for 24 hours, good luck you're basically disappeared from the world.
As someone who has been without power during a hurricane and who recently had air conditioning issues at home, I would say the AC, as it was 87 balmy degrees inside Trylko Manor for a couple of days while I was working to get that problem resolved. I could do without the internet if I could sleep more comfortably at night. So AC in the state of Florida.
Interesting. Nobody said a refrigerator.
Mm.
Well, we can always order out food. That's the key.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, Trace, before we're looking ahead, talking about the potential great games, Colorado, UCF football, let's look back, Trace. One last look back at the first year in the Big 12. And my question is, what do you think was the UCF game of the year on the men's sports side and a women's game of the year?
On the men's sports side, I mean, I don't think you could write a better script than UCF getting that Big 12 win over Oklahoma State. Space game, just the way everything came together, a domination, holding Ollie Gordon to 25 yards. That was the game of the year, and I think it'd be hard-pressed to find a second one. I mean, I know we'd like to disagree here, but how do you disagree with that one?
You're not going to pick UCF? Hello, UCF beating Kansas in men's hoops? At least we had an authentic storm court there, a court storming. We didn't have to jog.
We didn't have to pre-plan. But the most dominating win was over Oklahoma State.
Oh, for sure.
In the premier sport.
But the basketball game is the game that nobody's ever going to forget. You were there in that building, the first game ever. People thought they were going to get run off the court by Kansas. And I think
you think they're going to remember that more than they'll remember Oklahoma State's win?
I think they'll remember both, but I do think they'll remember the Kansas game more because it's Kansas. It's the program in college basketball. Nobody saw that coming. The scenery, Michael Donald talking about somebody throwing a shoe at him. The football game, it was raining. Like, it's Oklahoma State. Like, I don't know. It's up there, but some people might remember the Baylor loss more than the Oklahoma State win. I mean, who knows? But those are the clear top two.
Both deserving. And the basketball win was unbelievable. Do I get to go again? Do I get to steal one from you? Do I get to go women's?
Go for it. Yeah.
Softball versus Auburn.
Yeah.
Into the wee hours of the night. What a marathon! You watched it. You were a part of it.
I was
there. Just unbelievable performances, and tough for the Knights to lose and bow out in that one. But that's a game I won't forget. Being up till the wee hours of the morning watching it.
I was behind home plate for that one. I will bring up the positive one, the win on Friday where UCF was down 4 runs, came all the way back, won a slugfest. They scored had 2 3-run homers in the 6th inning. Shannon Doherty and Jazz Williams. It was the largest comeback in an NCAA tournament game for a UCF softball program. So I'll go. If you want to be positive, go with the Friday game. But I can't argue with you. I was there for that Saturday night 12-inning game. Sarah Willis, Maddie Penta, that didn't end until 3 a.m. Eastern. One of the latest ends to a UCF sporting event. I was there behind home plate, end of an era with that great senior class. I think those are your 2 choices by far.
As we continue to look back, male athlete of the year, Elo, you go first.
I'm going RJ Harvey. If you look at RJ Harvey's stats, you can make the argument it's the best year that a UCF running back has had since Kevin Smith 2007. That was how good RJ Harvey was. He dominated Oklahoma State. I'll never forget that 92-yard run. I'm going to go slightly with an RJ Harvey beating out, I think, something like a Luca Dorado in men's soccer had a great year for UCF there, among other considerations. But I'm going to go RJ Harvey.
I think RJ Harvey is the answer, but I'm going to throw out a name as the season came, just several weeks back. Jack Ziska for UCF baseball. 12 home runs on the season, led the Knights in doubles, RBIs, total bases, on base percentage. He had an all-around good season for the Knights and helped propel them to an NCAA tournament berth. So close there for me, but RJ Harvey, solid contender, but I'll throw out Jack Ziska in that. What about female athlete of the year?
Well, I think Renaya Jones, track and field, will get the nod. Had an incredible finish, strong year in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. However, can I do a little Lee Corso impersonation here? Because I'm going to give a shout out right now to another female. Go ahead, give us play-by-play, Trace.
Play-by-play. What is Elo doing? This is unscripted. Is this a jersey? Are you putting on a jersey? This is a jersey reveal, a T-shirt reveal. What do we got? Yes. What size shirt is this, Elo?
To Sarah Willis, Athletes Unlimited jersey. She's playing in Athletes Unlimited this week. First UCF softball player to ever play in Athletes Unlimited. It's probably the premier pro league now in softball. She'll get going in Rosemont this Friday. I want to give her a shout out. I would pick her second. Had a great year for UCF, representing well in the pro level. and had that 12-inning game. So those are my 2 picks. But Renaya Jones gets my nod. But Sarah Willis, nod. Sarah Willis with the shirts.
Yeah, I mean, those are the top 2. I got to go with Renaya Jones as well, but Sarah Willis has represented the Knights very well, and I'm glad to hear about her success. I mean, she moved right from UCF right into this league. There wasn't a whole lot of time off for her, right? She goes right in.
Correct. No, that's how it works in women in softball. You got to go right away. And she started out at EUX, did very well, and earned herself a contract to play in the regular season, in their main season that will get going this. So this is big for her from a pro level. Pretty successful offseason for UCF. Jada Cody's playing at the WPF. Sona Halajan is playing as well. But Athletes Unlimited, she's going to be on national television here for the next month or two, month and a half there on Athletes Unlimited. So shout out to her there for doing that. You need to get, see, did you like my gear? Look at that. So that's a brand new. I just purchased it. I got a Sarah Willis 66 jersey. How come I don't see you wearing jerseys? You know, I've seen Adam wear it.
Not a big jersey guy.
Oh,
not a big jersey guy. Yeah.
I am all about the jersey.
Are you changing clothes for this next segment?
No, I'm keeping it the rest of the way. I'm keeping it the rest of the way.
We will be immersed in Olympic action over the next several weeks. Are you a big Olympics guy? Do you watch much?
Only when the real sports, not the nonsense like gymnastics and all that nonsense. That's not even live, because NBC decides they want to air tape stuff.
Well, who's up at the time in which it would be live, right? I mean, most people are going
to. Well, this time it's in Paris. We can't use that excuse too much. The hour's a little more reasonable.
But all right. So who is the greatest Olympian in UCF history?
So it's a good question. I will go with Michelle.
There's not too many to choose from, Milo. This is not not Stanford. This is not some storied Olympic factory here.
Breaking news. Trace Trylko of Sons UCF's reporting that UCF is not Stanford. Thank you for the report. I'm going to go Michelle Akers. We've talked about her. The greatest athlete in UCF history. Won a gold medal with the USA soccer team. If anybody has a Michelle Akers, by the way, number 10 jersey, I'm interested.
I'm waiting for you to change into that.
I don't have it yet. Coach Sahaydak, hook me up. I'm saying I'm going to go Michelle Akers, Trace.
You mentioned Coach Sahaydak, right? She's been a part of Olympic teams, as has Johnny Dawkins.
In Atlanta, yep.
Give me Phil Dalhauser for volleyball. He's won a gold as well, hasn't he? Right?
He did win a gold beach volleyball. I mean, obviously UCF does not have beach volleyball. He just happened to go to school at UCF. But you're right. He's been very successful. He would be right there in that conversation. I'll mention Aline Reyes. Goalkeeper for UCF, played on the Brazilian national team.
Athletics Hall of Famer.
Athletics Hall of Famer. Kim Wyatt was a goalkeeper on the U.S. teams back then as well. But, yeah, I would say Akers, Reyes. I like your Dalhauser one. That's a pretty good one there. Shout out Julie Poulsen, representing Denmark this year in the Olympics in Paris in rowing.
There are a couple of athletes and club
sport,
rowers,
rugby,
rowers. Yeah, good luck to all of them at the Olympics. All right, time to bring back in Adam. Give us some knowledge. What did we get right? What did we get wrong?
All right, I got a smorgasbord. You guys talked offensive line. Don't forget, we had 3 starting centers last year. Elo, 4-year tight end amusement here. Since Gus has been at UCF, 19 catches, 22 catches, and 24 catches are the leaders for the tight ends, all held by Ala Collar. Last year, Randy Pittman had 19, so maybe he's already halfway there. You guys talked about KJ Jefferson. His 3 years at Arkansas starting quarterback. He had 666, 640, and 447 rushing yards, 17 TDs total in that same time period. So perhaps he will be on the ground. TCU, they got a young quarterback, guys. Josh Hoover, only 2-6 as a starter last year. Those 2 wins did come at home, and tying us all together, they opened the season at Stanford. You guys talked about the Colorado UCF game. Did a quick search on StubHub. The cheapest get-in price for 2 tickets right now, $124. So that's on StubHub right now, $124, the cheapest get-in price.
Wow.
Elo, Mark Ingram's only 5'9". Not sure if I'm afraid of that or not. He's only 5'9", although he's much bigger than I am. Also, is that shirt on backwards? I cannot tell. France.
No, the Athletes Unlimited, they actually put the name on at the front.
I was going to give you credit for putting a shirt on backwards live on the show. That's clearly a schmedium. France, 6 hours ahead of East Coast time, so get your clocks done accordingly. And Elo, another quick update fashion-wise. I did a quick search. No Michelle Akers jerseys on eBay right now.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Ooh, come on.
Thank you, Adam. One more thing before we go. UCF dropping themes for the upcoming football season. We've heard of First Bounce versus New Hampshire, Family Weekend versus Sam Houston State, Military Appreciation is the Cincinnati game, Homecoming BYU, the Space Game, Elo. UCF has a perfect record in that. They welcome in Arizona, and Senior Night versus Utah. No announced theme for Colorado. I guess it doesn't need any more billing than primetime coming to the Bounce House.
I would agree with that. Primetime maybe at noon. Primetime at noon. Are you going to sell you? Are you selling your seat for 150, 20, 50 bucks?
DM me. Make me an offer. Look for new episodes midweek, every week on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel, later in wherever you get your downloadable audio content. We thank you, Adam, and as well, Eric Lopez. I'm Trylko. Thanks, everyone, for watching this week's Around the Kingdom.